We're going back to the screen now to Ajit. Ajit is the Senior Programme Officer in the Programme Policy and Management Office in the Bureau for Democracy, Conflict and Humanitarian Assistance at USAID. Your business card must be about a yard long. But he's also Policy Director of Gays and Lesbians in Foreign Affairs Agencies, which is a glypher. So, Ajit.
Yes, I think you must have found an old bio on the Department of State website. So currently I'm serving as the agency's senior LGBT advisor providing technical assistance around the world.
Okay.
I would say one of the things that USAID was able to do, and you mentioned glypha earlier, is build internal capacity. And I'll come to that later. But first I'd like to just do a few reactions to the first panel that were mentioned, as well as what Fabrice had also talked about. So one key thing is that USAID has launched our LGBT Vision for Action, and one of the key points that we have in this vision is safety and safe space for people, so that there's dialogue. And we talked earlier about do no harm, and of course do no harm can be problematized, but the important thing is being able to meet people on their terms and how they view development. A second reaction from the panel and what the conversation we've had so far is really around inclusive development. And inclusive development really means including women and girls, persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, youth. It's the entire broad spectrum. USAID's approach is a non-discriminatory one in that we ensure that we have access to services for all people from all walks of life, and that's extraordinarily key for us. Third, in terms of another reaction from what we've discussed so far, is the learning agenda. Fabrice mentioned the work that they've done. We're doing some similar work on the cost of homophobia. What's been particularly interesting for us is we're doing regionally based work, whether it's our Being LGBT in Asia activity, where we're doing in-depth country consultations with local organizations, or a broad-based analytical piece that we've also issued and also available on our public website, the Testing the Waters piece, which is our comprehensive review for the Europe and Eurasia region. What we've also talked about so far this afternoon has been about the capacity of local organizations. USAID's initiative known as USAID Forward, formerly known as Implementation and Procurement Reform, and now we're rebranding it in terms of local solutions, and have also launched a local systems framework to look at this, is really about building the capacity of local organizations so that they have agency, voice, are able to articulate their needs more effectively. Critically, it's important to have focused approaches based on the country context. This is really about development at the end of the day. And so for us as a development organization, what we're focused on is addressing extreme poverty, ensuring that there are opportunities for economic growth, having broad-based access to healthcare, agriculture, livelihoods, mitigating the effects of humanitarian assistance, conflict, and crisis, shoring up resilient democratic societies so people have the opportunity to vote, to participate in their societies, run for elected office. The strategies that we've been taking that I think have been particularly effective has been around framing. It's that LGBT rights are not necessarily specific or unique, that they are part of human rights. I think the UN's Born Free and Equal campaign and some of the work that's been done with the UNDP and our Being LGBT in Asia program, as well as our own president's directive and the work that is articulated in our LGBT Vision for Action, really talks about the protection and promotion of human rights of all people, full stop. That includes LGBT persons, given particularly unique circumstances. The local language and supporting local efforts is something that people talked about earlier, and I would say one of the effective strategies is that all of our country strategies that we take overseas are based on the local context and designed with local partners. Entry points are critical in that they have to be focused and based on the actual context at hand. And I would say that the way we do this is through a suite of policies and strategies that we have available on our website, from our democracy, human rights, and governance strategy, looking at accountability at the government level, looking at participation and inclusion, ensuring that these principles are integrated across all technical sectors. That's absolutely key. So last, I'd like to turn to the internal capacity building approach, which is, I think, an area that people have asked me to speak to and something that is of interest in. I should say that this is not a new topic for us, and it's really been built, as Fabrice has done as well at our sister organization at the bank. It's really on the internal capacity efforts. And I know he amusingly joked about people's sexual orientation, and for me personally, I have no idea what people's sexual orientation is nowadays. I don't even think about it. I'm looking very much at development programs, and that's really kind of what my interest is on broad-based development. So what I'd like to say here on the internal capacity approach is this really started out in the early 90s when we're looking at the inclusion of same-sex partners of foreign service officers. Since then, it became much broader as our employee resource group, became much stronger and was able to advocate for needs and concerns. And with the Obama administration coming in, we were able to extend same-sex partner benefits. And now we also have a non-discrimination policy regarding gender identity. So we've been able to, I think, in a very robust way, build upon employee protections and really move towards the important work of development and ensuring that all people have a stake and are able to participate in development. And I think very much as Jennifer pointed out, the work that USAID does, bottom line, is indeed nothing about them without them. We work in partnership with people, and that's really our approach. So I know we're limited to the time, so I'll stop there.
Thank you very much indeed. That's great.